All right, looks like we've got ourselves a quorum. We're at 3:33 p.m. Welcome everyone to a meeting of the Fresno Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District Public Financing Authority. The meeting is now called to order at 3:33 p.m. Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Certainly. Member Fuentes.
Present.
Member McTarian.
Present.
Member Arias.
Present.
Vice Chair Maxwell is absent today, and Chair Esparza.
Present.
All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, so just a few things procedurally. This meeting is being conducted both in person as well as electronically. The public may participate in the meeting by using, actually, Clerk, is that accurate? Yeah. So the public may participate in the meeting by using the Zoom link provided on the agenda. Please note that all virtual participants will be on mute until they are called upon by the chair, at which point they will be unmuted. If you are a member of the public and would like to comment on an item, use the raise hand function on Zoom. And to avoid confusion, please wait for the item you desire to comment on to be called by the chair before electronically raising your hand. Although we don't have too many items today, so shouldn't be too much confusion. Before we approve the agenda, I think we do have an announcement from one of the members. I'll recognize Board Member Fuentes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I've, of course, been blessed with the opportunity to serve as a member of this Public Financing Authority since 2020. However, as those on this dais know, I've since then been elected to serve as a member of the State Center Community College District Board of Trustees. So after careful consideration to avoid any potential conflicts of interest or even the appearance of a conflict, I am resigning my position from the PFA effective immediately. So thank you to Chairman Esparza for the opportunity to serve our city as a member of this body. I look forward to seeing all the significant investments in our city's infrastructure that the EIFD will stimulate, just as an outsider, of course. So I'll now go ahead and hand my letter of resignation over to the chair, then walk out of the chambers in dramatic fashion. All right, thank you.
Thank you to Member Fuentes. I appreciated your service these last several years, and I will accept your letter of resignation. We'll get this electronically as well, but just here for the benefit of the public, knowing that you are resigning effective immediately, given that this is the first meeting we've had since you took your seat as a State Center trustee.
Correct. Thank you,
Okay.
Chair.
All right, well, thank you, and have a good rest of the day. So, and then there were There's 3 board members left. That's still a quorum, correct, Clerk? Okay, fantastic. All right, so we'll move on to the business of the day and with the approval of the agenda. There aren't any changes to the agenda that we know of?
No changes.
Okay. Do any members have changes to the agenda?
None here.
Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any opposition? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Next, we'll move over to approval of the minutes for the last regular meeting that occurred of this Public Financing Authority, which was actually October 7th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
I'll second that motion. Is there any opposition or abstentions? All right, seeing none, the minutes are approved for the last meeting that took place at the Public Financing Authority. So we'll move into our action items now. And before we proceed with the first action item, which is it's very, very simple action today, and that action is to adopt the annual report for the Fresno EIFD for both fiscal years 22 to 23 and fiscal year 23-24. But I do want to provide some context to folks. I know there's been a lot of misinformation out there, just as there was when we originally created the Fresno EIFD. I want to be very clear with members of the public that this district has not in any way, nor will it in any way, raise your taxes. at all. Your property tax rates remain constant and are the same as they have always been or would have been, regardless of whether this district existed or not. This district was not created to annex property or to eminent domain property. Those are actions that the city reserves the right to engage in, again, regardless of the creation of this EIFD. So I know those are some of the primary concerns from folks, and just to kind of, again, give an idea of how this district has been working is your property tax bill remains unaffected by it. But when we locked in the baseline tax year, over time, you'll see that your tax bill increases organically because of either increased property values or property changing hands. And so you see your taxes go from this point up to this point. And what the EIFD does is it captures only a portion of that revenue of that increase, your increased payments. And so that's really all the revenue. We call that tax increment financing. So this is not a mechanism where taxes are being increased at all. There's been zero increase in taxes. It's really just capturing a small portion of those taxes already being paid, putting them aside for future investment in infrastructure within the boundaries of this district, which primarily consists of the central and southern Blackstone corridor, as well as downtown Fresno. That's the primarily the boundary of this area. And so that's just a little bit of context. I don't know if any of the board members wanted to chime in, but I want to provide that for the public to alleviate any concerns about annexations or eminent domain or increased property taxes, because that's not what this hearing is about. What we're hearing today is really, hearing to consider the resolution to adopt, again, this report that has been available and was mailed out to all the property owners at minimum 30 days in advance so that they could review it if they wanted. A very short report, I think it's about 9 pages or so. And so at this time, I think we'll hear from staff on the action item. Again, actions pertaining to the Fresno Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District annual report for both fiscal years 2022 to 2023 and 2023 to 2024.
Bernard, am I on here? Can you guys hear me okay? Oh, good, it's on. Good afternoon, Chair Esparza, members of the Financing Authority, members of the public viewing either online or here in the chambers today. I don't have a presentation that I'll walk through, but just to quickly talk through, pursuant to Government Code Section 533-988.66, the annual report is a requirement of the EIFD district, and we've prepared that in conformance with the Government Code, and it's, as you mentioned, Chair Esparza, has been mailed out to the residents in the district. The annual report is to include a description of the projects undertaken in each fiscal year. To this date, there hasn't been any projects, so you'll see in the report itself that there's really nothing substantial in that portion of the report. Along with that, what we do have today is a chart comparing the actual revenues and some minor expenses, primarily including administrative costs of the PFA for the 2 years that we're reporting on today, of course. So I'll just take you quickly through the report. As you mentioned, it's about 9 pages in length. There's a brief introduction describing some of the elements that you just went through, Chair Esparza, describing what the EIFD is, when it was formed here in the city of Fresno, and what the Public Financing Authority's responsibilities are, and some of the reasons that we're here today on page 3. Page 5 of the report would ordinarily include any description of projects costs, and of course I mentioned already we don't currently have any projects that have been undertaken, so there's no cost to report there. The most substantive portion of the report, of course, is starting on page 6, which includes the tax increment revenue that has been generated to this point for both fiscal years 2022-23. and 23-24, given that we've just completed that fiscal year as well. Going forward, I will say this is a report that will be completed on an annual basis. This is the first time the city has completed this report for the Public Financing Authority, and so ordinarily, going forward, you should see this report no later than June 30th of every year. And so at this point, what we have is about $79,000 in increment revenue that was generated for fiscal year 22-23 against a projection of $512,000 or so. And then for 23-24, the actual collections for the year was just over $268,000 as compared to projections of $781,000 for the district. You are seeing some minor administrative costs there that I'll cover quickly. That is mostly in relation to the city or the Public Financing Authority's interaction with a vendor to help really compile these materials, the mailing that went out, ensure the methodology that we have undertaken and utilized to record the increment revenue is correct for the city. And so that's representative of what you're seeing there in that category. And then lastly, on page 8 and 9, again, just a brief on either the project status. Of course, at this time, there isn't any, or any revenue generated for private business expansion. And again, there hasn't been any expenditure or projects undertaken to this point in time. So that's the report. Pretty straightforward and simple to this point. Happy to answer any questions or address any comments that you may have.
All right. Thank you, Senator Santino, our finance director. Before we do questions and more comments, we'll probably take public comment, and then we'll circle back around to see if the members have questions. But just again, to kind of piggyback off of your comments, this is a district that over the course of 50 years is projected to generate about $300 million to be invested in infrastructure within these boundaries. You've heard some of the report there that so far it's been a small amount of that total amount thus far. We'll get into some of the reasons why here in a little bit. But before we dive into questions, I do want to give the public an opportunity to speak up and hear from the public. So I do have a set of yellow cards. If you have not, if you're here in the chamber and have not yet filled out a yellow card, please do. Hand to the clerk here, and that will get up to me. I'll call the card. So we'll do these yellow cards, there's a handful here, and then we'll move into the Zoom comments, if any, going forward. So the first card I have is from Maria Salazar. Maria? Come on down, and we'll have 3 minutes to address the Public Financing Authority. Oh, well, we have a translator, so I'll have 6 minutes, 3 minutes for their comments, and then 3 minutes for translation.
Mi nombre es María Salazar. Yo vine porque donde yo vivo, la calle de la McKinley hasta la Clinton, no hay para caminar uno con silla, pues necesita que arreglen ahí porque hay mucha tierra, muchas piedras, y pues necesitamos que haya un espacio para uno. Bueno, como yo uso silla, no puedo, me voy por donde van los carros, porque por acá, este lado hay mucha piedra y tierra, y necesitamos que arreglen ese pedazo de la McKinley hasta la Clinton, la Mar. Es todo.
I will translate that. Hello, my name is Maria Salazar. I live in the McKinley to Clinton area, in the area of McKinley, Clinton on Marks. Where I live, there's no sidewalks. We need to fix that area, and we need to make space for wheelchairs. I use a wheelchair. There's dirt and rocks in that area, and I'm advocating for some sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next card I have, I cannot read the handwriting on the name. It's the The first name starts with the R, and the last name starts with the R. Robert? Robert R? Come on down.
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Rodriguez. I'm a retired educator. I was an educator for 35 years. And I live in District 7, and I live at 4771 East Turner Avenue. When we bought the home 40 years ago, it was a cul-de-sac, but they widened Chestnut Avenue, and then Caltrans built the freeway. We went to the meeting when Caltrans had the public meeting for input about the freeway, and they promised us that we were going to build a wall to buffer the toxic emission and also the noise decimals and pollution from that freeway. The thing is that the wall has not been built. We are suffering in that community with toxic emission. You cannot go outside during the day because it's so toxic in our backyards. We are right there on Turner, and I'm 2 streets over from the freeway. And we can see the freeway going over the overpath. And the thing is that Caltrans promised us if it went over, we're going to put a wall. They showed us on the map that there was supposed to be a wall there, and no wall has been built. So we are in this district, the EIF district, within the boundaries, and we are in need of a wall, a concrete wall, right along 180 and Chestnut. Not to mention there's a children's playground, a community playground right next to the freeway, and it's really, really bad. So what I'm saying is I've already talked to our assemblyman, and his office is also very concerned about the damage that it's going to be doing that it's doing to the community. You can hear the noise of the traffic inside our homes. That's how heavy it is. And the thing is that not to mention that we're going to be dealing with losing possibly $10,000 to $15,000 on our properties if we decide to sell because of the freeway. Because they promised us a wall, and that wall has not been built. So the thing is that we are on the fringes of possibly experiencing environmental racism because we realize that our communities that live along the corridors of the freeways, studies show that you live 10 years.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I appreciate you coming out today. The next speaker I have is Kathleen Omachi. Welcome, Kathleen. You have 3 minutes.
Oh, thank you. That's kind of like a Disneyland A-ride going down the slope. Good afternoon. Preliminary question. Does the district include the area of Chinatown in your proposed boundaries?
In the established boundaries, the answer is yes.
Pardon me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Kathy Omachi. I live at 759 F Street in Reedley, California. My family has lived in the San Joaquin Valley since the 1900s. My father was born in my grandfather's pool hall in China Alley in Chinatown. I've been a volunteer in Fresno's historic Chinatown since 1995, long time, and personally seen and experienced the multiple plans for the area, city council representatives, and governors come and go. We have outlived such failed plans that never came to fruition, and the manipulations of a now defunct redevelopment agency. This area is once again under destruction. Plans to do extensive or expensive removal of buildings. Promises were made to the state for the high-speed rail station and the city's desire for a lucrative high-speed rail maintenance yard. But at what cost? The possible destruction of a unique historic area, the displacement of large and small, very small businesses, and some of them have been in existence longer than we can even contemplate, over 100 years. And the ultimate ghettoization of the homeless community and the low-income communities in a concentrated area. The city has made promises to Chinatown area for years and is now willfully in the area of trying to acquire the properties by any means necessary. What the city is not looking at and what your district is not looking at is the potential for a lucrative tourist attraction for a very unique and historic district area. We ask that you reconsider your plans for the destruction of Chinatown. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is going to be Bobby. Just one name, no last name.
I look crazy.
Yes. My name is Bobby. I live in Southwest Fresno, known as West Fresno. My mother moved here in 1962. I am in opposition. For one of the main reasons is a lack of communication. Our community is never included into any type of communication or any community meetings to let us know or for us to have any type of input. According to what this is covering, the adoption and everything, we're looking at, most of this came about during the pandemic, 2020. So therefore, naturally, there was no community input. There was not any proper Zooming or then, anyone, which we are not equipped for that in West Fresno. There are a lot of elderlies and people that do not have those type of setups. But my opposition is that, again, not following federal rules and regulations, our representative not communicating with the, with the our community in District 3. So I'm totally in opposition against this because it was all adopted and done during 2020, which was during the pandemic.
All right, thank you. The next speaker is going to be Yvonne Gordon.
Good afternoon. My name is Yvonne Gordon. I stay on the Southwest Fresno, part of the He Foundation. As along with what Sister Bobby had just mentioned, I oppose also the PFA because of lack of, no notices to the people to the public. And, you know, you guys adopted this September the 17th, 2020, which the pandemic was going on. So I don't know why you adopt something when the public didn't have access to meet, or you guys meet with us. And you didn't give us any notices about this. So I don't know how you can adopt something on your own without the community input or the public input. So I do oppose this. It's not right, and it's not right for you guys to continue to adopt different things that concern in our community without our input. So you guys need to get on a better program on communicating with the public, and you guys shouldn't be adopting anything concerning the people that live in the community without their noticing and without our input. So I oppose this PFA because of the lack of communication to the public, and you have not notified no one, and especially during the COVID pandemic in 2020, you couldn't meet with the public. So that was all restricted. So during that, it should be nothing adopted during that period of time. Thank you.
All right, next speaker is going to be Brunette Harris.
My name is Brunette Harris, and I'm with the Heat for Southwest Fresno Community. I don't even know how you got to be a public financing authority, period, because you didn't even let us know that you're supposed to be doing that. So we want to know who's over that, period. We know there's somebody in Sacramento that's over you guys. We want to find out how you guys keep doing things. And then you're supposed to be over the EIFD. And as they're saying, she was speaking about Chinatown. It's not only Chinatown. On your page 2 of 10, you're saying the surrounding community and located outside of the community. And you're not giving us the right information. Plus, you did all this stuff in 2020, as they said. You have guidelines, federal guidelines that you're supposed to abide by. You're not doing it. The public participation, the citizens must be provided. All of that, we give you that information, so whether you read it or not, that's on you guys. Under the citizen public participation, the citizen participation plan must provide for and encourage a citizen to participate in the development of the consolidated plan and any substantial amendment. You didn't do that. Then on page 6 of the guidelines, you guys supposed to publish the plan. You're supposed to publish free copies. You sent out the face of this thing that you guys are doing. Then it's a substantial amendment. It tells you on page 7 that any substantial amendment, you guys have to do it. The citizen participation plan must provide at least 30 days before you do anything. You guys are not even following the guidelines. You're not doing that. You're using federal dollars, you're using state dollars, and you're supposed to include the community in what you guys are doing. And you're not doing it. It's the same thing you guys do on the city council. And you're here again on authority, financing authority. You shouldn't even be on that. It's a crime that you guys are doing, and you need to be held accountable for it. It doesn't make any sense for you guys to keep doing this to the community. You don't let us know this is what you're doing and what you're supposed to be over. You can't even manage the city council because you're not holding council meetings, and you want to sit up and be public finance authority. We want to find out who's over you guys in Sacramento, and we're going to take our grievances to them because we didn't know you did anything like that. 2020 was a pandemic. And Miguel knows that his area is not equipped for that. Our schools wasn't even equipped for any Zoom, Doom, or anything else that you guys are doing. We're tired of it. We're glad this is his last term.
The next speaker is going to be Hikmat Asrama.
Good afternoon. My name is Hikmat Asrama. I'm the owner for Brothers Deals in McKinley and Blackstone. I got the plan for the project, and I see the building I rent. It's like very close to the project. So I'm here to know what's going to happen for the building I rent. I'm not on, I rent. So I'm worried about my business, because my business, it's cost me a lot of money. I started in 2021 in that business and cost a lot of money. So if like the building is not going to be in the project, I'm going to be losing customers because the traffic there. Because there's no parking lot and it's going to be a lot of construction around my business. So it just, I tried to talk with anyone. I came like 2 months ago to talk with anyone here in the city. There's no one talk with me, and there's no one care about like my business. So I came here just to know what's going on in my business. And thank you.
Hikmat, 1 second. What was the name of your business one more time?
Brothers Deals. Brothers Deals.
Brothers, okay, thank you. Clerk, we're going to go over to the commenters, public comment on Zoom. Let's go ahead and proceed with that.
There are no speakers on Zoom.
Okay. Anybody further in the chamber here in person wish to comment who has not commented yet? You'd have 3 minutes. Seeing no further public comment in the chamber, seeing no public comments on Zoom, we'll go ahead and close public comments. We'll come back up here to the board members. I'll start off just by kind of addressing a few different things that we heard. Really a variety of concerns and issues. There were a couple folks who did mention infrastructure, and that is what this district is all about. It's about investing in infrastructure. I will say that at this point, given the report that we heard from the controller, there's very little money that has accumulated so far. The action item on the agenda today will not initiate any kind of project. It is not approving any kind of project, anything specific at all. We're really just acknowledging that the EIFD has been accumulating these dollars and reporting out to the public transparently what kind of dollars are in that account. This was created in the middle of the pandemic, although the process had started prior to the pandemic. And during that time, government business carried on at all levels of government, from your federal government to your state government and your local governments and school boards. Business went on, and this was part of that business. And there were some folks in this room, I think, who look familiar, who were part of those meetings and Zoom calls, if I remember back then. So some of you who owned property and still own property all received the notices. And whenever we have a PFA meeting, there are notices sent out within 30 days advance notice, and that's all in accordance with state law. So we have to follow what the state says in order to be able to hold these meetings. And if we don't, then we don't hold the meeting. But yes, this district is intended ultimately for investment in infrastructure, but it's a long-term district that's going to exist for 50 years. It's going to accumulate some dollars. And at this point, Controller, could you, for the benefit of the public, could you give us one more time what the total amount that is accumulated in the EIFD currently, minus the very small expenses?
Sure. So to date, if you were to go to
page 6.
Page 6 of the report, what you'll see is essentially there's a net revenue line for each of the years. And so for 22-23, that net revenue amount is just over $75,000, $75,514.30. And that combined with the amount for 23-24, which is $266,000, $736.66, brings the cumulative balance in the account currently today to $342,250.96.
Yeah, so we currently have $342,000. The only expenses that have been incurred have just been purely administrative in the amounts of $5,000, $6,000 or so. Total.
Yeah, just over $6,000.
Just over $6,000 over 4 years, and so very low overhead. There has not been any action taken by this PFA with respect to any kind of specific projects or engaging in the investing of infrastructure. We simply created the Public Financing Authority and the EIFD, and all there has been to do is, at this point, wait for this revenue to continue to accumulate so that we have enough at some point to spend and invest in a project. I do want to give an opportunity to my fellow board members if they had any comments or questions, comments generally or questions for the controller.
Thank you, Chair. I do want to take an opportunity to address some of the concerns that were expressed today. First, to Senora Salazar, I am aware of the need for sidewalks on Marks Avenue between McKinley and Clinton. Just to let you know, that street is actually owned by the County of Fresno. That's why there's no sidewalks on the west side of the street. And until there's a project on the west side by the city, there will be no sidewalks because that is a county road. On the east side of the street, there is sidewalks and streetlights because we built housing projects on the east side. But there will be no sidewalks until a city project is built in that area or the County of Fresno installs sidewalks. And it is the County of Fresno's position that they do not build sidewalks on any of their county areas, even when there's housing nearby. For Mr. Rodriguez, who referenced the 180 and Chestnut Freeway, I just want to clarify that that was built by the County of Fresno Transportation Authority using Measure C dollars. And he's right. They promised a pollution barrier that never got built. And I would recommend that he talk to the director of the Fresno County Transportation Authority and the Fresno Council of Governments, who are the ones that funded and built the project. When a new freeway extension is built by the local government, that ownership is then transferred to a state after the third year of the project being completed. At that point, it becomes the state's responsibility to maintain the freeway, but the original construction and what was built into the design was all done by the Fresno County Transportation Authority when they approved that project probably 15 years ago. To the references on Chinatown, just as a reminder, we just opened up about a year ago a $58 million new housing project in Chinatown. We just awarded an $8 million construction project in Chinatown to rebuild all the streets in Chinatown and to add trees and landscaping in the middle of the road, new sidewalks, new street lights, historical street lights. So the $8 million of reconstruction in Chinatown will improve that area significantly. And there is going to be a Chinatown entrance to the high-speed rail. But at this point, the city is not in any way doing any demolition of existing buildings. We are simply making significant improvements on the existing infrastructure that's been needed for a long time. And just to the Blackstone McKinley speaker of the business, the district as it is formed is not funding construction of any project. So this body is not funding construction of any project, so there's no impact to any businesses. You're probably referring to the $180 million underpass that's being built. That again is being funded by Measure C, the Fresno County Transportation Authority, and that project has been planned for more than 20 years to improve the safety, especially in proximity to the Fresno City College campus and all the accidents that we've had between cars. It would also significantly reduce pollution, as there won't be long lines of cars idling waiting for the train to pass by. That project is underway and is being led by the city public works staff, so I would recommend you talk to the city public works staff who are intimately involved in the execution of the project. And last point I'll make, Chair, is the district simply, at its basic level, takes money that would otherwise go to the city's general fund and spread across the whole city. It keeps it within the boundaries of the district to fix infrastructure within the boundaries of the district. It's our way of ensuring that dollars generated within the district remain in the district for public infrastructure improvement projects. As has been noted by our controller, we've generated approximately $300,000. That isn't enough. I mean, that's enough to build one sidewalk in one neighborhood. Over time, more money will be generated, and the requirement under law is that we invest the money within the boundaries in which the money was collected in. So it allows us to keep money in this area versus spreading it across the city for other projects. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the item.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the item and a second. I do have a few questions for the controller, just for the benefit of the public. On page 6, we indicated the Board of Equalization did not approve the EIFD until January 21st of 2022, even though we had passed it back in September of 2020, or officially formed it, and we thought established the baseline tax year at that point. I know you weren't here back then, but do we know when the city did submit the EIFD formation documents to the Board of Equalization? And do we have any idea what happened there, what the gap was, and why the chair or the PFA were not notified of the delay and the shifting of the tax, the base tax year?
Sure. Yeah, I understand the same. I couldn't speak to it definitively, but I do understand there was some sort of delay in filing with the State Board of Equalization. I'm sure through coordination with the city clerk, we could get down to when those filing documents were actually filed. I don't know off the top of my head, but I understand in my research and understanding of the evolution of the EIFD that's something that occurred.
Yeah, it's disappointing, and I know you were not finance director at that point, but we missed out. The EIFD missed out on at least a minimum of a whole fiscal year of revenue, and I think it could have been a little closer because you take a look at the projections, and we're pretty far off from the projections. I think at this point we should have been closer to. So the projections for the first year would have been about $500,000, and then we would have accumulated, I think, closer to $800,000.
Yeah, that's you're right. It's displayed on page 6, the projected amounts that were incorporated into the original analysis. I will say, as we dug into that, because being that I wasn't here, kind of wanted to understand that myself. What I understand of the analysis that was put forth by the vendor during the formation was that the characteristics informing their analysis had to do with the general plan unit capacity in the areas, and so that would, I think, be certainly the most optimistic scenario of what could have occurred in these districts. So in other words, it's the amount of units that could have been built out in both the Black Sound corridor and downtown. So I think that's mostly what's driving the variance that we're seeing. But certainly not having another year's worth of accumulation is not good either. But I think that's largely the reason for the discrepancy as we kind of dug in to understand for ourselves why there was a variance.
So the late start in the base tax year, you think is probably a smaller, in the grand scheme of things, probably one of the smaller variables.
I would say so. Yep.
Okay. So your opinion, just kind of taking a look at what the projections were, where we're at now. Your opinion is that just the conditions are not as exactly as we thought they'd be.
Yeah. Again, and we met with Cosmont, who prepared the original report, and that's what we understand of their methodologies. Again, they took the building capacity in the areas, which I'm not sure if that would have ever really been realistic, really in any area. So I think that's the predominant reason for the variance.
Okay. Any further questions for the controller? Okay. Seeing none, thank you, controller. Appreciate it. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and entertain the motion. Again, the motion is to approve the acceptance of the annual report for both fiscal years 2022 to 2023, as well as 2023 to 2024. Is there any opposition to the approval of the item? Seeing none, the item passes 3-0. That is the only item on our only action item on our agenda. That will conclude this meeting of the Public Financing Authority. Again, for the benefit of the public, there was no action taken to initiate any actual physical project or approve any physical project, and there has not been by this PFA because of the insufficient funding at this point that has been accumulated. But as time goes on, we'll see those monies increase, and we'll the PFA at that point, whether I'm still here at that point or not, because I'll be gone at the end of 2026, as well as my colleague here, and there will be new city council members that sit on this body. At that point, when there's enough revenue, the body can at that point initiate a project or maybe consider bonding out to do a larger project. So again, just for the benefit of the public and helping to make sure everybody understands. To the business owner at Blackstone and McKinley, my staff back there, David, can help connect you to the capital projects department if you are lacking information with respect to that project you were referring to. But that's not what this meeting was about. But David can help you back there to connect you to the right people. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.